Welcome back to We Tried It. As you can see, we have tried out a lot of e-bikes, and to be honest with you, we just started trying out e-bikes this year. So if you have any questions about e-bikes, you're wondering what's the right e-bike for you, keep on watching to find out more. A lot of people ask me, what is the perfect e-bike? And the short answer is there is not one. There may be the perfect e-bike for you. I'm gonna highlight some of the differences in this video and just explain to you what I wish I would have known going into the world of e-bikes. All of these bikes, I believe all of them, let me double check. Yeah, all these bikes also have a throttle. Most e-bikes these days do have throttles. On this one, for example, the throttle is right here. On this one, the throttle is right here. And on this one, the one is throttle's right there. A lot of people don't know that you can use e-bikes both with a throttle and with pedal assist. Now, what's pedal assist? Pedal assist is just that extra little oomph you get with each time you turn the pedals, which is awesome. If an e-bike goes under 20 miles an hour, either through throttle or pedal assist, it's classified as a class 2 e-bike. I've written a whole article about that. I'll link to it down below. That just means you can ride the bike in most areas where you ride a regular bike. Obviously check your local listings and laws. Another thing that people always ask me about is, can I put these e-bikes together myself? And the short answer is yes, you can. The RadRover 5 is the first e-bike I got, and I got tons of comments about how I should have taken it, not to lifted it out of the box, but cut the box open. That's the only difficulty I've really had. Now, I am not a bike mechanic, and I won't pretend to be one. I actually hire a bike mechanic to come and look at all these bikes after I put them together, especially if I'm giving away as a gift, because I want to make sure everything is put together perfectly, there's nothing loose, the brakes all work, all that kind of fun stuff. A lot of people also comment in our videos about mid-drive motors. Now, I am not a mechanic, I'm not a bike expert, I just like to ride e-bikes, like probably you if you're watching this video. These are all rear hub e-bikes, which means that they have motors in the back of the tires. And there's also what are called mid-drive hubs, which are hubs that go where the pedals are. And these are unique because they actually use the chain to propel the bike versus the whole wheel like these rear hub motors do. I've never tried a mid-hub motor. I want to. Bosch, if anyone there is watching, I'd love to try one of these bikes out. But what these bikes allow you to do is to tap into the different gears, just like a car has gears. It allows you to tap into different gears while you're using the motor. On these rear hub motors, you only have one option, one gear for pedal assist and for throttle, and that's just built into the bike. You still have the gears of the bike that you can use while you're pedaling, but for the actual motor, it only have one gear. It's kind of interesting. Never really thought about it, but Bosch, if you're watching, I'd love to try it. Another thing I get asked about all the time is, what about range? Now, all these bikes pictured here, with the exception of this little guy over here, have plenty of range. They all have roughly the same size battery that's in them. This battery and the Rad Power Bikes battery are actually almost exactly the same, even in function, but they all go an easy 40 miles on a full charge. It takes a couple of hours to make each charge, but you'll have no problems with any one of these e-bikes going where you want to go, unless you're going to go 40 plus miles. And they actually all have unlimited range because you can always pedal. These bikes are also super heavy. That's something I had no idea about. This is the heaviest of them all, weighs in at just under 100 pounds. This one, I'll put the full weight on this video down below. And obviously the foldable ones are a lot lighter weight, but this one has no power whatsoever. Okay, how fast are these e-bikes? Well, all of these e-bikes listed here, except for the little guy, they are class 2 e-bikes, which means they can go up to 20 miles per hour with throttle and pedal assist. Now, the bikes don't stop running after 20 miles an hour. You just don't get any extra help once you reach that 20 miles an hour. Gravity and just pure physics of pedaling a bike faster, you can go faster than it, but really you don't need to. This bike and the RadRover 5 do have some software overrides where you get them to go faster, but frankly 20 miles an hour is plenty fast on your bike, and you don't want to go much faster because you can't fall. You're not invincible. Now let's talk about how you're going to use your e-bike. Now obviously, if folding up your e-bike is important, you can always get a foldable e-bike like this. I really wouldn't recommend it. It's not a great e-bike. If you want to go more than 1.5 miles at any given time, just skip this e-bike. But now let's start talking about how you're actually going to use your e-bike. If you just want to use this for cruising around the neighborhood, this FreeForce beach cruiser is great. It does have built-in storage on the back. If you want to add a basket or something like that, you can do it. It came with that, which is good. This bike doesn't have any front suspension. It's just a nice, simple cruiser of an e-bike. If you just want to cruise around town, not go off-road, this is a great e-bike. Now this e-bike, I would say, is one of the best values for the money of all the e-bikes that we've tried. And here's why. It has a medium tire, not these super fat tires like you see on the RadRover 5. It does have a front suspension, so you can go on some trails. I wouldn't take this mountain biking by any of the stretch of imagination. It does have a built-in rear rack. This bike is lighter than the RadRover 5. It's less expensive than the RadRover 5. And I just like this bike. It just was a nice, easy bike to ride. And my father-in-law actually uses this bike now and he loves it. Check the KBO Breeze out. It's, I don't know, it's like $1,400 or so. I'll put the exact price down below. This is a great bike, the KBO Breeze. Check it out. All right, now this bike is more of a moped that is trying to be electric bike. You know, there's absolutely nothing wrong with this bike. It is pretty cool. It's got front and rear suspension on it, but it is just more of a moped than it is a bike. And here's why I say that, because this seat right here is not adjustable. It can go up or down. So unless you're the perfect height, I happen to be about the perfect height for this, about 5'9", and it works just fine for me. My dad, who's 6'2", tried this e-bike, and it was just a little hard for him because his legs were too long. Nothing wrong with that, but just know this one does not have an adjustable rear seat to it. So your height is really going to depend on if this is a good fit for you, but it is definitely more of a moped than it is an electric bike. All right, now this is the very first electric bike that I had. This is the RadRover 5. It is probably the most capable of any one of these bikes. It's the bike that I personally ride most of the time. I have a Your Rider that I put in front that my son likes to ride and play Pokemon on. I have a cell phone adapter. I have the large rear rack in the back, but this bike is awesome. I think it's about $1,700, shipped directly to you, and it's made by Rad Power Bikes. And so is the very last one, which is the RadWagon. The RadWagon is perfect for someone that needs to actually carry a bunch of stuff, or people. 2 or 3 people can fit on the back, kids obviously. When I was filming this video, someone walked by and said they have one for their shop. Actually, they use it to put their tools and everything else in there because they don't like to park downtown. Got a huge back caboose area, part of the wagon, and I also have the front rack to this as well. But it all comes down to what you are looking to do with your e-bike. Once again, cruising through the city, get something like this FreeForce. Want something that is a good all-around bike? Then check out the KBO Breeze. Want something that's more of a moped type bike? Check out the Himiway Escape. Want something that can do it all, is super versatile. This is a heavyweight, big heavy bike overall. Also can go off-roading, the RadRover 5. And if you need to store a lot of stuff or people, check out the RadWagon. You know, a year ago, I knew nothing about e-bikes. I just thought they were cool and looked like a lot of fun. And you know what? They are. I've come to find out that e-bikes are not all that complicated, and many of them are pretty similar. Some of them even look very similar. They almost all have batteries from someone like Samsung. They all have similar brake systems from someone like Tektro, and the shifters are even almost all the same. There are only so many ways that you can make an electric bike. And sure, some of them have their quirks, but that's why it's important to get a bike mechanic to help you look over any e-bike that you put together. You are going to be going like 20 miles an hour, and you want to make sure you are safe. So always make sure you have a bike mechanic check out your work. It's like $50 and it's totally worth it. I will admit that most of these e-bikes come from China, but you know what? So does everything else in our lives, frankly. And since these all have pretty common parts, it's not that difficult to work on these bikes. In fact, most bike mechanics will feel really comfortable looking at them, maybe not messing with electronics. That's why it's important to buy from a reputable manufacturer like Rad Power Bikes, or buying your e-bike from a local dealer that will service it themselves. If you're looking at this and worried about, oh man, am I going to be able to get my e-bike serviced? I would buy from someone popular. They've raised a bunch of money. That's Rad Power Bikes. They're a pretty safe option, but they all have fairly similar components, and I wouldn't be all that worried unless everything on an e-bike just has some really weird parts that you don't know about. Most bike mechanics can take a look at it. And you know what? The battery is actually the most expensive part of these e-bikes. A new one can cost like $500. So make sure you follow instructions and take care of your battery the way the manufacturer says to. And like I said, they're almost all made by Samsung, and while sure the adapters and way it plugs in can be a little bit different, they all run on a very similar premise. In short, any one of these e-bikes, minus the little guy, could be good for anyone for a particular purpose. But once again, there is no perfect e-bike. It's all about what is the right e-bike for you and for what you need. If you are a super serious biker, maybe look at a different brand. Maybe look at something that you can get at a local bike shop, get it repaired there. Maybe look at a mid-drive motor. But these are great entry to mid-level consumer e-bikes that we love. I put the most miles on the RadRover 5. A close second is probably the KBO Breeze here. All these also have removable batteries, so you can take them off. I recommend doing that if you live in places where you get extreme weather like Colorado, either the hot or the cold. But yeah, if you have any questions or comments about our whole e-bike roundup, please let us know below, and we hope to see you again real soon.